And apparently they gave me a crew as young as I was, 20 years old, you know. They gave me a crew, and I'm in command over older men.
Well, most of you...
You know, I couldn't understand it.
Let me ask you another...
I must have had the ability. Everybody else, the big boys in charge, they knew that I could do it, I guess.
The one thing I'm always interested in when I read is that, of course, the Army was kind of jealous of the AAF because you've got a 10-man crew, 4 officers, 6 senior enlisted or NCOs. And this is basically equivalent to 4 squad or 4 platoon leaders and squad leaders. Now, what's interesting is you and my grandfather were flight officers, but yet the navigator and the bombardier were commissioned officers.
That's right.
How did that work out? Were there problems that way?
No, there was no arguments or anything like that.
Because you were in charge of the craft. I mean, no matter if they were higher ranking, you were in charge of the aircraft.
That's right, yeah. They just listened to me. We got along good. There was nothing in regards to that. My crew and I, we got along good.
Now, so you did the training at Almagardo. You did link training by yourself, and then you flew these missions and practiced navigation with all of you out together. Maybe you said maybe strafing runs you practiced too with the B-24, or
no, I didn't. I don't think so.
How'd you practice bombing? Was that just simulator too?
Oh, that was simulating, and Alamogordo especially.
Okay.
In Phoenix.
When you were in flight school?
Not in Phoenix, that was in Tucson. Tucson was more navigation and everything. And that's where it was advanced training already. From Tucson, I think I went to Harrington, Kansas.
Yeah. So
that's where they showed me I could fly one engine. They were giving me tests, that I could handle it.
But in Almagardo, when you first got your crew together, you were in that link trainer, so maybe Harry Parr and then maybe also your bombardier would have done their separate simulator training, maybe.
They were doing something else, which I didn't know, because they took them someplace, and they're all training, I guess.
All right.
But I don't know much about what they were doing.
That's okay. Then what happened is that I got it here. The training was on an accelerated schedule to get the 450th Bombardment Group and their squadrons ready and deployed to Europe as soon as possible. Training was divided into 4 phases. The flying and ground school mixed with each phase. That's what you said. Right. Each phase was designed to increase individual job proficiency, develop teamwork, and to become familiar with the equipment. Pilots and co-pilots were getting their first experience with the B-24. Only the essential crew flew, while the remainders attended schools in their specialty to hone their skill, like you said. In the second phase, the complete crew practiced bombing, extensive air-to-ground gunnery, and air-to-air gunnery on towed targets. Do you know what that would have been? What mean towed?
Towed targets, a fighter plane would take a target. It's just like a blue tube, and you'd get in there and the gunners would shoot at it.
Like a dummy trailer vehicle or a plane? Glider, maybe?
No, it wasn't a glider. It was a regular plane, slower plane. I forget what it was. But they had a chute, more or less like a windsock, a long one. And they would take the bomber close and then shoot at it.
So you'd be flying, and then your gunners would
the gunners
practice.
would be flying.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Every crew had, they had to learn. In fact, the pilots had to know how to take the release units that were in the bomber, how to put the bomb on it or defuse it. They had they call it, I still remember, A3 release unit. It was 2 things you open up like that, and you put the bomb on it, and 500-pound bomb. You put on it, then you had an arming wire from this here gadget going to the propeller of the bomb. Then you had another arming wire going to the tail fuse. There's a propeller on it. So when the bomb drops, this arming wire goes off, and the propeller, when it's going down, it's unfusing, you know what I mean? Getting the bomb ready to explode. Right. So that falls off, and if that doesn't ignite the bomb, the tail end does. See? We had to know, in case the bomb hung or something.
So you're telling me there was some cross training
there's
going
a
on.
lot of training going on for. Yeah, I can't remember everything.
Did you even?
But I remember that.
Did you even have to? I'm just asking. Did you ever have to learn how to then fire the machine guns in case?
Oh yeah, I was a gunner anyhow.
You were a gunner anyhow.
B-17 in the Pacific. When the B-17s came in, I was a turret gunner under the bottom.
Amazing.
Yeah, I fired all the machine guns in that, when I was a corporal.
So even it said, like I said, air-to-air gunnery on the towed targets. Some simulated bomb runs covered long distances at altitudes as high as 20,000 feet.
That's right.
So this was probably the first time you were on oxygen,
Yeah,
probably.
right. That's when we all had to learn about oxygen masks and all that.
And the oxygen was, I've seen a lot of pictures, they were in yellow tanks at the rear of the plane. Is that right?
No, it was to the plane somehow. All we had was a mask.
But there was
I
oxygen
don't know
somewhere.
where the oxygen tanks were.
They were in the back somewhere.
Somewhere, probably.
But then also, everybody was on those masks, but sometimes then other crew members had to move around, like the gunners had 10.
I've never seen that.
Never seen a team, they had 10-minute
Never
tanks.
seen that.
Okay, the small tanks. Okay. The third phase consisted of navigational skills at all altitudes over long distances. And then the final phase was primarily close formation flying combined with navigation, simulated bomb runs, and flying at different altitudes. So I assume then that you were practicing for the first time multiple B-24s within formation.
Right.
That was probably...
And even takeoffs. See, when the leader of the takeoff takes off, he goes way up this way, way in the side. The number 2 takes off, and there's the leader, and he goes over here like this. And they take off real slow. The third man goes up, he gets up in here. And then slowly you're trying, and the other guy, I know when I took off, I had to be right here. I just went open throttles. I had a lot of guts, going down low to pick up speed, full throttle. I could see the mechanics on the ground running. They thought I was going to crack up. Boy, and I came up. Then you got to pull back on the throttles, and you come up like that. But, you're young. Now maybe this is a different story. I'd be more careful.
Was there just the interphone system, which allowed every crew member to talk one another? Was there a lot of discipline with that, or was it just a lot of crosstalk, or how did that?
No, I think everybody knew their job.
There wasn't really a lot of conversation.
No, never any anything bad words, or you're doing wrong, or you're doing too much, or this and that. There never was anything like that. Everybody got along real good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so all the practice runs in formation ran all the practice runs in phases 2 through 4 were conducted both day and night. So can you imagine your first formation flying at nighttime? Was that scary, or do you remember?
Oh yeah, it is scary because at night it's a different story. Who's that? My buddy?
You got a cat out there?
No, it's a squirrel.
Oh,
he's got a
pouch in there.
No, not a pouch. I think he's diseased. That one.
Oh. All right, here we go. Now we're going to get into... Well, I'm just trying to think. I think we're going to stop and back up again. That's okay. You okay? You got to take a picture?